Hello everybody, Alex is here with another episode of Broken Cards of Hearthstone. So, it's been a while when I did this, but I wanna keep things in a certain order. And because a new expansion it's announced and it's coming soon, so I wanna be finished with the old gods before I do another stuff. So, let's do this. Old gods. Let's see what broken card we have today. We doing Paladin, Mage, and Rogue. So let's see. I think this card is good. This one is actually also relatively good. I think this card here is slightly overpowered, but then again, you can take advantage from this card only if you have at least one another minion on the board, which kinda help slightly balance it, so it is not too bad. Then we have this card, which this card actually don't look too broken, but this card by itself isn't that much broken, but what makes it broken is a fact it's let you freely cast Murloc. So apparently even with previous set of cards, Blizzard was convinced like paladins overusing murlocs are not enough annoying, so they decided making them even more annoying. What the hell? I first there's one thing which I really don't get it is the very idea of like paladin cooperate with murlocs feels just weird. Something which really don't fit in for paladins. I don't get where they get this idea. I mean, another class which support Murlocs a lot is Shaman, which is, I guess it's okay. Same with most other class, maybe except Mage and Priest, but from all classes, I mean, I don't think I just talking about like style and I don't know. Say what you want. For me, like a style mean a lot because this is just I don't know. I just want to play and have some sort of image. It's a small thing. I do realize this is small thing which don't affect gameplay at all, but still it's broken. And on top of that, like being able to summon murlocs at will and they can profit from all these bonus. It's just I don't know. I think like Murlocs by itself, they are kind of broken and overpowered because as any like bonus which are given by specific type of minions are usually strong because they say, hey, you can give these huge bonuses, and they are so huge because you can apply them only on Murlocs. But if all cards in your decks are Murlocs, then that is still overpowered. That's the point here. You can really call this restriction if you are able to do like if there be like some big bonuses and say they are given only this class of cards and there will be like only 4 cards like total of that type. So this is what I call restriction, but not this. So anyway, let's move on. We have uh, what's my divine shield. I think this card is a little overpowered. Well, probably it's really overpowered because Paladin have a lot of Divine Shield cards, and you can actually build entire strategy only on this concept if you want. There's many cards which are able doing something like this. Um, so yeah, I think this card is a little overpowered, but nothing too terrible. And we have this card, which again, this card is another card which is really like ridiculously broken. Because on one side the card has a full stats and giving like divine shield anyone who have one left health and one health. And conveniently, the paladin hero ability let him summon exactly this kind of minion. How convenient! I mean, this 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 is like if they laughing if in your face, they give you saying you like, hey, any black card which you summon get a divine shield, but there's restriction. It must be one health creature, which means it's basically every time it's basically permanent upgrade for your minions which you summon with your hero ability. We are, like I said, broken. Then we have this card, which by itself, it's really don't like super broken. But when it's combined with something like this, then it can be really broken. There's actually more combination where you can do such a thing. Uh, like I said, it is like I'm actually think for some time about making strategy just based pretty much purely on several Silverhand recruits. Really interesting, but yeah, I think this card is pretty much okay. Now we have Ragnaros the Light Lord. Um, I think this card is a little broken. Actually, this card is really broken because it has pretty much same ability like a normal Ragnaros for exactly same price. However, unlike normal Ragnaros, who can't attack by himself, this minion can attack by himself, and on top of that, he can also heal, which once again, Blizzard is much more generous with the healing than damaging. I guess it's probably because all damaging spells have these plus spell damage effect, and that can make them much stronger. And healing spell don't have anything like this, which is probably a reason why Blizzard is more generous with healing. At the same time, if you want to be able to do this plus damage, you first and most importantly need to have cards which do such an effect, which is not applied for healing spells. So on one side, I think like damaging spells by itself can be really strong at times. So I don't know. I'm really confused about this, but honestly, I think this card is like. I mean, it's a good card. It's a very interesting card. I don't think this card is necessarily broken. It's just overpowered. But to me personally, this is not like something like broken card. It's more like first and most importantly, I don't understand why is this card the card of the paladin. Why this card should be this should be like card um for priest. Because this seriously looks more like a priest card, to be perfectly honest. Or there is actually another concept. I actually get interesting idea right now because how's game work like now? You have either class specific card or cards which can be used by anyone. What if there be a new type of cards which be basically like a class specific card. However, it can be used not one class but two classes which are similar. For example, the card can be used only, let's say, paladin and priest, or paladin and warrior. You know, if there's like some class which have something similar. Because if you do such a thing, then you can not only like make the cards a little more variable, or and that is the like even more interesting option, you can make the card like neutral. However, the card basically creates some additional effects if you are member, if you play specific class. So let's imagine if this card be done like this. Let's say this card be like neutral card. However, it have, let's say, if you play as paladin, then cards get, let's say, boost for I don't know, defense, and get some extra help. And if you play as a priest, then cards get less damage but more healing effect, which means cards can technically be played by anyone, but a specific class gets some benefits. Like we have cards which are technically kind of like this. Let me give you example what I mean. I think basically best example of this is this card. Card get +2 every time it's healed. Okay, so technically this card is neutral and can be used by anyone. But in real, it's more like it's pretty much priest card because priest. It's not like the card can be used only by priest because if you really want to get advantage from this card, then you can get, I don't know, this card, and then you can get a bunch of cards which have some healing effect. So even if you don't play as priest, you still can have like bunch of healing effects. You can use this card, and you can use what can heal also. I don't think there's too many of them, at least not here. Let's see. You can have this card, and there is another one. Where is it? This card that can heal you. This card is also a healing card. So yeah. So technically this is a card which is neutral, but class which get much of the benefit from this card is clearly priest because he is only one who is able to heal at will. So, and I actually really like. I actually like if this card be kind of like this. Unfortunately, it's not. So I think this card is overpowered and definitely broken. Actually, a lot broken. I mean, sure, you still heal a random dagger, but like this card is really very powerful, and maybe a little bit powerful because 8 health. That's like I don't know. It just feels like it's too much. Anyway, we covered paladin, so let's move on into priest. So let's see. Okay, we have a discard. And I think, in a previous episode of Broken Guns, I think I mentioned how I feel about those shadow cards, which, yeah, this card is just, this card is totally broken because A, like I said before, it's something which really don't fit for a priest, and B, like, sacrificing like 2 points of mana only just being doing damage with the healing spells. It doesn't sound like something which I wanna do. But then again, if you have lots of healing spells, it's provide a little more variety than, let's say, that Shadow Priest. I believe this is how it's called. But I don't know. I just don't like any cards. These shadowy cards for Priest. They are all broken, like in general. Then we have this thing. What can I say? I'm pretty sure I mentioned before how I feel about this card and this card. I think they are one of the most broken cards in the game. And if I ever decide to do top 10 of most broken cards, which is something which I didn't do, instead I'm doing this, but eventually I do such a list. This card probably, this card and this card, they probably be on that list. So I was convinced these two cards are most broken cards in the game. I was wrong because this card seems to be even more broken. Fortunately, fortunately, the card is really a huge restriction in the term of damage, and for relatively huge restriction, you attack or less, and cost for mana, which is really actually difficult to use. So fortunately, people at least don't use this card as much as the card which I mentioned before, because that is really difficult to find take advantage from this card. So fortunately it's not abused, but that doesn't mean I think this card is less broken because of that. In fact, I think it's much more broken because it can like annihilate entire board with the for relatively low mana. I mean, yeah, it's don't affect all minions, but I still don't like this card. Fortunately, like I said, it's not used as much frequently, so at least we have this. Okay, so now we have this card. Okay, here is another card which is broken. I think I mentioned a few times how much I hate if opponent get option to get my cards and using them against me. I think this is something which really isn't right because it feels like a slap in the face. And on top of that, what is the point to create some unique deck if enemy can use my cards against me? I mean, everybody should have their own cards, and this is how they're supposed to work. And this effect is just not right. There is more cards which doing this, and I hate it. On top of that, I myself never use this card because if I, again, I say the same argument which I used before. If I play as a priest, And I have some specific strategy and I need cards for this strategy, which means it's really unlikely my enemy have in his deck the cards which I need for my strategy. I mean, the cards can be still useful, but overall it's just something which just make no sense to me. I'm surprised how many people still using it. It's something which is more annoying than overpowered. I mean, I don't think this card is necessarily overpowered because its work as a death rattle. It has slightly lower stats, and I can silence it if I want. So I don't think this card is necessarily overpowered. It's just broken. This is one of those cards which really define what is my definition of broken. Now we have this card, which uh, it feels like a slightly stronger version of. Where is this card? I believe it's here. I think. Where is it? Oh yes, it looks like a slightly stronger version. This card costs a 4/5 for 6 mana and heal 4 damage, 4 hit points. And this card have cost less mana, 1 mana less, have pretty much same stats and more healing. So, but at the same time, it's just a priest card. So, class specific cards are usually stronger than neutral. So, uh, maybe it's a little slightly overpowered. Then we have this thing is let's see. I think this card is actually not overpowered. It feels like it's actually pretty weak, to be perfectly honest. Because for 5 crystals, you expect giving minion like effect like 5/5, or in this case 6/4. Instead, have only 6/2, which is pretty low. I mean, with this stat, the card should cost like 1 crystal less. But this card is actually, I don't know. I mean, like, if this card, I mean, only reason why Blizzard decided to make this card this way is probably because they have some other cards which are really overpowered. So in order like balance this, they give him like card which is actually less powerful. But the point is, it's actually may not work because priest may simply decide don't use this card. Instead, use just this overpowered card and change his strategy about this card. I mean, this card can still be useful when it's combined with some other card, but I think this card should be stronger or cost less mana because, other than that, interesting card. Then we have this. Okay, I don't think I need to talk. I don't want to talk too much about cartoon cards because I think cartoon cards are in general really overpowered. To give you a really simple example, like your typical card, this is something which is kind of like rule in the Hearthstone. It's not this rule is really not definitive or something, but typically how most of the cards work, with few exceptions, is basically card have 1 point of damage and 1 hit point per crystal. Obviously, if card have some restriction or special abilities, then these values are usually like lesser. Sometimes they can be kind of rearranged. So some cards can have, let's say, more hit points and less damage. Of course, if cards have some strong ability, then it's usually have lesser stats. This is how most of the cards work. There is also some exceptions, like for example, good example is this card. It costs 4 crystals and 5 hit points and 4 damage. So its stats are above this rule, as I said. So this is one of those examples. The problem is, all Cthulhu cards, almost every single one of them, have these higher stats. And on top of that, they giving these bonuses Cthulhu, which is broken. It's really, really broken. So I don't wanna. I explained this whole idea behind of this because I don't wanna repeat myself every time when I talk about Cthulhu card. So if you play this card have really good stats for its price, and if Cthulhu have at least 10 attack, restore their health, which is something which is relatively easy to do, especially if you play Cthulhu oriented deck. You can get 10 attack really easily. So this is like restriction on the rule. You need to have at least 10 attack is really laughable because you have this almost every time. And this is something which many other cards do. It is really annoying. So, and I really don't understand why this card have such a huge stats. If they have huge stats, and on top of that, they have some special effects or bonuses for Cthulhu. So, I don't wanna go through this whole thing and say everything again. I'm just saying this right now. Cthulhu cards, all of them, with pretty much no exception. I can actually remember. Pretty much all Cthulhu cards are overpowered, and thus they are broken. Let's move on, and we have this card. Butler guys, summon 1/1 copy of each other minion. Uh, huh. Well, this card actually followed the rule which I mentioned before. It has lesser stats because it has useful ability. But even if it's cost like 1/1, I think it's slightly overpowered. If you have at least one minion on a board, then you get 1/1 minion. However, it's only 1/1 stats, but it don't cover special abilities of the card, which means if you have either lots of minions on the board or minion with some really strong ability, then this card can be absolutely devastating. Like imagine if you have like let's say Ragnaros or Sylvanas Veneranda. If you have like two cards or more, then it can be really powerful card. And then you can like combine this with some other effects. For example, if you have let's say um, a Battle Cry deck, which I have, then most of these cards here are strong because they have Death Rattle effect, which is their strength. So the fact they have 1 and 1 hit points really doesn't matter. I think this card is overpowered. It's a card which what kind of help balance overpoweredness of this card. It's a fact it's really situational card, but I think it's still overpowered. Okay, so we covered the paladin and priest, and let's move finally the rogue. So we have this card which is slightly overpowered again because the card by itself have pretty standard cards. for one crystal card, but you get 1/1 when you place on another card before. I think combos, most of them, not all of them, but most of the combos are overpowered. And I really don't understand, like, why. Like, only because I already play cards that's giving me a reason to do such a thing. I mean, if you compare this card, for example, what is it? Uh, oh, it's actually not all the those cards. If you compare this card with, let's say, this card, then there is about 50% chance you get the bonus. However, with this card, the chance you get the bonus, you get it almost every time, unless it's a first card which you have in your hand and you don't want to play it. You most likely, like, one thing which is really useful if you get this card when on your first round and you can play something else, you get this bonus almost every time, and this card is really unfair. This bonus effect is super easy to get, and if you are able to play such a card in early game, it can cost your opponent some serious trouble, and I think it's unfair, really. And we have this, that's pretty much okay. Okay, so I don't wanna repeat myself again. You get cards from opponent's class. You know what I think about this. So yeah, this is just feels bad. Then we have this card, which I really, I really don't get this. Like, I don't think this card is necessarily overpowered. I just don't get the Shadow Strike name, and then you deal 5 damage. The undamaged character, I don't think it's overpowered. I just don't get the logic behind the card and its name. It just makes no sense to me. Then we have this card, which is actually standard stuff, pretty much. This card add random toxins, which I'm still not too much like experience what these toxins do, so I really can't judge. But you get 2 of them, and I believe they have its own mana cost. And this card have relatively low stats, so I don't know. It's hard to tell if this card is overpowered or not. Then we have this card is this card is relatively okay. It can be really strong, but it's most of the situation on how well you're playing your strategy. Of course, it depends if you're lucky enough. But if you are lucky and you like are smart and wait and use this card in the right time, then it can be a really strong card. I don't think it's necessarily overpowered. This card actually encourages you to be a little more creative and patient. And we have this card. Oh my god. This card is another card which is really broken because for some reason Rogue can do this extremely annoying card, this really annoying strategy, and I say strategy with big sarcasm because I think it's actually more like abusing of hole in the rule of game, which basically using this card, and which give you being able to have like multiple copy of multiple copies of what is it? What is this card? Wait, what? What is it? Why is not here? Uh, wait, what? The card is not here. What the hell? Uh, I don't remember. Where is it? Uh, for some reason, it's not here. Or at least I can see it. I don't think it's spot specific. It's not here. It's really not here. What the hell? What the hell? Wait a minute. Is this? Oh, it's free crystal card. Okay, so this card, which if the rogue can have multiple copy of this card, then it can play this disgusting strategy, and I absolutely hate it. Instead of doing something with this, instead of solve a problem and fix this, they instead decide the rogue, especially rogue, even more cards which give rogue even more opportunity to have multiple copy of this card. And if you play this other card first, you can have like how many, like 6 copies of the card. I mean, this card is not necessarily like overpowered. I don't think it is, but because it's give you like multiple copies of the same card, it's just broken. Why? If you necessarily feel the need to give somebody this card, why you giving this card Rogue again? Rogue have already cards which giving her like option to have multiple copies of the card. So why do you this? Why are you doing this? This card is not overpowered. It's just really broken, and it's pissing me off. Really do. And finally, we have this card, which it's basically 4 crystal minion combined with assassination. But as a bonus effect, it's giving like really big bonus Cthulhu. So I think this card is really. I think this is another example of really overpowered card. Like I said, all Cthulhu cards are in general really overpowered and broken. I actually like idea of Cthulhu, like yeah, he's supposed to be an old ghost, and someone is or him on this world needs some sort of ritual, so he have like a legion of worshippers which can make him stronger. Okay, I like the idea, but I think they go a little too far. Like make first and most importantly make minions weaker. They have way too high stats. And a second, give like Couture himself something a little more creative than just more damage and health. It's really difficult to stop him this way. I think it's just broken. And even if you like see some of my deck maker, one that was basically one of them which I dedicate Cthulhu. spend and I was able like giving to really high bonuses. And sometimes I win just with these cards. I even don't need the summon cartoon because the card by itself, just because they have really huge stats, that's mean by themselves they are really strong. And on top of that, they have these strong abilities. So what the hell? So yeah, I think I make my point here. So we are done with the paladin, priest, and rogue, which is good enough for today. So in the next episode, I do shaman, warlock, and warrior, and a final episode of this thing will be the card. But for today, I'm done. And as always, thanks for your time, and I will see you later.